In this video, we are going to test our select pagination view class, which we've created in the previous video. Under the tests unit pagination, the new class, which is going to be called select pagination view test. And here, this one will extend pagination test again, pagination case. And if we go back to our pagination case, what I want to do is add another helper method here, which is going to return the instance of this select pagination view class. So we're going to start with public function select pagination view, and it will take 3 arguments. And if I just go back here, these arguments will be exactly the same ones as the ones for the pagination. Because what's going to happen here, from within this method, we're going to return new select pagination view. And as you may remember, this one takes, as you can see, this type hint here shows me up pagination. That's what it takes. It takes the instance of the pagination. And because we already have pagination method here, which returns it, perhaps we could use it by simply calling this pagination and then pass all these 3 arguments through basically the constructor of this to this method, which is then passed to the constructor of this pagination class. And that's pretty much everything that we have to do for this select pagination view. I'm going to import this class here as well, so it is being added here at the top. And then what I'm going to do is also add some doc blocks. Records count, it's going to be integer, per page integer, return select pagination view, and let's just say get instance of pagination view. Okay, so now with this method added, I'm just going to remove this redundant space, save it, close it, back to our select pagination view test. And what we're going to start with is public function can call limit method. This is the method, the dynamic method, because this method does not exist on our pagination view. If we go back, if I just open our app, then pagination view, remember we have this dynamic, this magic call method, which will redirect any calls to limit and offset to the pagination class instance and the methods with the same name. So let's just make it a test as well. And we're going to start with pagination equals this select pagination view, and we want 10 records in total, 10 per page, so that's only 1 page. We go for this assert not false equals, it should equal 10 when we call pagination and then a limit method. And if we just test it, save it, back to the terminal, PHP unit, we're going for test, unit, pagination, and now we go for select pagination view test, and there we go, 1 test, 1 assertion, which is passing. Okay, the next test, let's quickly straight away test the offset method. So I'm just going to duplicate this method actually, and can call offset method. And here we're doing exactly the same thing, but this time offset should be 0 when we are calling offset with this setup. So 10 records in total, 10 per page, then obviously offset should be 0. If we save it, run it, there we go, 2 tests, 2 assertions. So back to the editor, and the next test, if I just scroll up a little bit, the next test is going to check whether we are going to get an empty string with the number of records less than we require per page. So public function returns empty string without minimum number of records. And again, that's a test, obviously. So we start with pagination equals this. Select pagination view, 10 records total, and we want 10 per page. So obviously that will give us only 1 page. So this assert equals, and it should be an empty string when we call pagination get. If we run it, and there we go, 3 tests, 3 assertions, all of which are passing. Next one, we are going to do the opposite. So I'm just going to duplicate this test, returns pagination with over minimum number of records. So we say now if we have 10 records and we have 9 per page, that should give us 2 pages. So now rather than equals empty, then it should be, this time we're going to check not equals empty string when we call get. So save it, run it for test for assertions, all good. And the next 3 tests we're going to write are going to check whether we get the proper HTML structure, basically for the first, last page and any other page in between. So public function returns correct HTML structure on the first page. And we are going to start with the pagination equals this select pagination view. We have 100 records. We want 10 per page. And then what we are going to do is start with the assertion. Assert not contains. We want to we are asserting that our HTML won't contain a specific link in this case, and it shouldn't contain the link to the first page when we are on the first page. So href http ://localhost, then question mark pg equals page equals 1, and then class button. So that element should not be on the page when we run pagination get method. And now one thing I wanted to show you. You may remember previously when we were testing for the URLs, we were using localhost then / and question mark. Now what is the difference? If we open pagination, go to the URL class, you'll see we making use of this full URL query, full URL with query on the request instance. If we click on this method, you'll see that within this method, I'm going to close the file browser on the left so you can see a little bit better. We first check if there are any queries, if the count this query is more than 0, meaning that we already have the query in a URL, so we have some query string there. If that's the case, we are going to have this URL concatenated with a / then question mark. Otherwise, we are going to have just a question mark without the /. And this is very important when we're testing here, because in this case, we didn't specify anything like get page equals, say, 10. If that was the case, then we would have to test it with the / question mark. Because we didn't use it, our URLs will be without the / after localhost, then just a question mark and then a page 1. So we should not see this specific anchor tag with the basically pointing to the page 1 because we are on the first page. We didn't specify any value for the page item in the query string. So let's just quickly run this test, and there we go, 5 tests, 5 assertions, which is good. Now another assertion, we're going to have several assertions here. This assert contains this time. We are expecting to have, and I'm just going to copy all this and just modify it slightly. We are expecting to have page 2 because we have 100 records, 10 per page. That should give us 10 pages. So we should have a button, the link which with the class button, which point to the page 2. Let's quickly check if that's going to work. And there we go, 5 tests, 6 assertions, all working fine so far. Then we also asserting that we should contain, our HTML should contain option. We don't have anchor tag with the page 1, but we should have an option. So what I'm going to do here is option value equals this specific URL, but with page 1, because we are on the first page. So this one should be with the attribute selected equals selected. That's how we should have this option within a select HTML tag. So if we save it, run it, and there we go. We have 7 assertions now, all of which are passing. And then what else? We should also see the option tag with the second page. So let's do the same for the second page, but without selected attribute now, because obviously we are on the first page, so second page should not be selected. We save it, run it, and there we go, 8 assertions, all of which are passing. So the next test will check for the last page HTML. So public function returns correct HTML structure on the last page this time. And here we are going to start by actually defining that we are on the page, on the last page 10, and now pagination equals this select pagination view, 100 records, 10 per page. Obviously last page is going to be 10th one, so that indicates that we are on the last page. And now because we are actually having query string in the URI now, that's why we're gonna have to use the / after the localhost when we're doing our assertions. So let's start with the first one. This assert contains, and we're gonna go for anchor tag href http / localhost, and then / page 9 with a class button, but I obviously did single rather than double quote here, and then closes. So this element should be visible within the pagination get, whatever that method returns. So if we save it, run a test, and there we go, 6 tests, 9 assertions, all of which are passing. Back to the editor. So the next test will be this assert not contains, and this time, because I'm going to check whether I can actually see the link or button or option of the select tag pointing to the 11th page, which we know we don't have. So obviously we want to check that it doesn't contain it. So http / localhost (page 11). That's why I'm not wrapping this within the anchor or option tag or anything like this, just the URL itself, so that we can check that this output pagination get doesn't return it at all. So if we just test it now, there we go, 6 tests, 10 assertions. Back to the editor. The next assertion we will check for this assert contains again, and this time we are going to assert that option for page 10 is selected. So value equals http / localhost / page equals 10 closing double quote, and then selected equals selected. So we should see something like this when we run pagination get. If we run it, 6 tests, 11 assertions, all of which are passing. And the last one for this test, this assert contains another option, but let me just scroll up a little bit, option which value http / localhost / page 9, but this time it's not going to be selected because it's just the option, the previous page basically option. And then when we run pagination get, and if we run it, and there we go, 6 tests, 12 assertions, all of which are passing. Back to the editor. The next test is going to check for any page in between the first and last. So public function returns correct HTML structure of the page between first and last. And we start with get. We're going to set page to the 5th one, so right in between, semicolon, and then pagination equals this select pagination view, 100 records again, 10 per page. And again, we could probably leave this second argument off because 10 is default one, entirely up to you. I'm just gonna keep it here actually. And then we're gonna go for this assert contains, and it should contain anchor tag with href http / local host / page equals 4, and then class button. So we should see this when we run pagination get. Let's now save it, run a test. 13 assertions with 7 tests, all of which are passing. Cool. Next one. This time we're going to go for this assert contains, and it should contain option with value http / local host / page 4. So it should see this option as well. Not selected, only the option with this specific value. When we run pagination get, if we save it, run it, and there we go, 14 assertions. The next one will check whether we contain, if I just let's just duplicate this last one. This time we are going to check for the fifth one, for the current, which should be selected. So we should see this as well. Let's run it, and there we go, 15 assertions. So all good. Then we should also see option with the sixth one. I'm going to duplicate this one for the 4th page. So we should see the 6th one as well. Let's run it. 16 assertions, all of which are passing. The next one is going to be for the anchor tag again. So this assert contains, and now we go for the href http / local host / page equals 6 as well, and this time class button. So we should see this when we run pagination get, and if we run the test, 17 assertions, then we also should see this assert. Actually, we should not see this not contains. Again, it shouldn't contain any element with the URL http / local host with page 11, because we only have 10 pages. So pagination get, save it, run it, and all passes. Okay, back to the editor. As you can see, we have here quite a lot of repetitive strings, like for instance this http / local host, which we could probably extract to a separate method. We also have obviously these options. We work either with anchor tags, options, or just URLs. So perhaps we could extract all this to separate methods rather than actually having typing this over and over again. Obviously, if at any time this will change for any reason, then obviously we would have to change all these assertions here. So in the next video, we are going to do some refactoring to our test class. For the time being, I'm just removing this space here and saving the file, and let's move to the next video.